Despite being asked to go contactless way back in 2012 for the Olympics, London Stansted still requires its passengers to buy a physical ticket in advance of travel, even though customers can tap in at London Liverpool Street. Every year, this leads to thousands of customers inadvertently breaking the law and being fined up to £100. It's generated millions in fines every year for the operator, and there's still no news on when pay-as-you-go will be installed. Jessica Ewer has this.
Contactless travel has become a way of life for Londoners. The whole of London's transport network lets you pay as you go with your phone or your card. But there's one well-known stop that's the exception. In fact, it's the only London airport that requires a physical ticket. The contactless barriers here at London Liverpool Street will let you through to London Stansted, but it doesn't mean you can actually travel contactless. In reality, if you haven't bought a physical ticket, you will be fined. We wanted to investigate just how clear this was to passengers. We bought tickets and made our way to the Stansted Express. We saw some signs around the barriers, but most are if you're looking down. We did spot a couple of signs telling customers they need a physical ticket before getting on the train, but during peak travel times, it could have been missed. At the other side, this is what we found. At just one of many exits here, ticket inspectors and enforcement officers, despite it being off-peak hours. In the line of customers, some received fines.
The information is not big enough. Yeah, it's quite confusing.
And how much did you have to pay?
£71.
Right. And are you frustrated? Is it annoying?
Yeah, a lot.
I just don't know, but I'm just not happy right now. So I tried to explain to them. They said, since I cannot provide any proof, that they have to fine me.
Did they give you a fine on the spot?
Yeah, they give me the fine, but I'm on appeal for that.
How much did they fine you?
£104, I think.
The fine for travelling without a ticket is £100, reduced to half if you pay on the day, in addition to the cost of a ticket, which from Liverpool Street is £21.90. We also found other passengers complaining online. All of these posted in just the last few days, and all of them saying they were unaware they couldn't tap to pay. It's the operator, Greater Anglia, that ultimately keeps the money. The latest available data shows 16,000 people were fined in 2019, generating 1.5 million in that year alone. But it's ultimately central government that has the say here. They told us in a statement, "We have committed to further extending pay-as-you-go and will announce further stations in due course, which could include Stansted." Stansted Airport told us, "As London's third largest airport, we are eager to be contactless more quickly than the timeframe currently set by the Department of Transport."
Well, we're joined now by the travel expert, Simon Calder. Hi, Simon. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. And what do you make of this report? Because we'll be hearing from people there who feel like they've been scammed. Do you think that's fair?
Well, yes, and there will be people watching who think, well, they didn't buy a ticket, what do they expect? But look, the rules on penalty fares are designed to stop kind of habitual fare dodgers. These people are just trying to get to the airport. They've been to many other airports around the world, and indeed around London. If you're going to London City Airport, if you're going to Gatwick, if you're going to Heathrow, you can just tap in and out, and the system works out how much you owe. The fact that Stansted doesn't is very, very distressing, and particularly so when an awful lot of people who are caught are visitors to London, who should be welcomed rather than made to feel like criminals and ending up paying an awful lot more than they needed to.
Yeah, it's never a nice feeling, isn't it, when you get to the end of a train journey and you fined £50, £100. That's a very hefty fine. Why is it the government haven't moved to introduce these tap-out systems there at the Stansted station?
Because there's no interest in the railways, really. I think that's the conclusion I have reluctantly drawn. Certainly we've got the most anti-rail Prime Minister we have ever seen. I mean, Rishi Sunak prefers helicopters to reach Southampton than he does catching the...
Why do you say he's anti-rail?
Oh, he's completely anti-rail. Well, take the air passenger duty on domestic flights. So the beneficiaries of halving that early in April last year were people who fly between Edinburgh and London, and therefore giving the plane an advantage over the train. He's got no interest in settling the incredibly long running, we're now in the third calendar year of strikes by as left train drivers, and it's now, I think, increasingly seen as an election wedge issue. So the government doesn't really care. The Department for Transport has been promising easier ticketing really since I've been working as a travel journalist, which, as you can imagine, goes back some decades, and it never happens. And Londoners, I think, are inured to it. It's just a shame that visitors, on who we absolutely depend from a tourism point of view, are being penalised in this way.
And when we look at issues like this, and like the fact that I think every London airport charges to drive up to either drop off or pick up from, are we falling behind other European airports here?
I don't think that London City yet has a drop-off fee, but certainly Stansted was, I think, the first. Heathrow and Gatwick have both introduced them since
Luton
COVID.
does as well.
Luton does as well.
Yeah.
And it's very there's astonishment among foreign visitors. They say, we can't possibly do that. We don't do this in France, Germany, America, Italy, wherever. I think actually there is some justification in putting this charge on if you are driving people to use public transport instead, particularly if it happens to be ring-fenced and encouraging people to travel by public transport. But then if you put obstacles in the way, such as making it tricky for them to be correctly ticketed, as they do with Stansted, it's very regrettable. London, remember, is absolutely the world centre of aviation. We have far more people flying in and out than anywhere else in the world, but my goodness, they don't make it easy.
Sam, what do you make about this issue?
Yeah,
at
it's
Stansted?
totally outrageous. I mean, look, Stansted should be stripped of the ability to call themselves London Stansted, simply as that, because they're either in Essex or they're going to be part of London, be part of our system. I mean, it just totally and utterly takes the mick out of those passengers. It's fining people for £100. I imagine some of those people have gone back to other countries. They're not going to have time to kind of challenge it and do all that sort of stuff. We want to make London somewhere that people want to come on holiday, easy to access, and if Heathrow can do it, if Gatwick and London City can do it, why are Stansted doing something different? It's clearly just a money-making scam.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I cannot see that it is. OK, all the rail companies are basically directed by the Department for Transport. The Department for Transport sets out how the expansion of pay-as-you-go does. Stansted would absolutely bite your arm off to have proper pay-as-you-go. They really want to be easier connected.
Where's the campaign from Stansted to do it then? I mean, look, I'll happily lobby as a London MP for them to do it and work with, Essex MPs to do the same thing. Look, I do agree with you, by the way, Simon, that clearly the DfT are not prioritising rail, and it is the best way to get people out of their cars, out of the planes and onto trains, the best thing for the environment. And there's so many things that they've done that you've alluded to and talked about which are just disastrous in terms of doing that. Clearly, they need to sort of step in. And I think actually, if you look at where the money's going, it feels to me that this is just a rip-off exercise for them.
Emma?
Yeah, I think so. If you come to this, there's actually two examples of where we've seen the issue worked out really well. So, for example, with the DfT, Boris Johnson and the rail companies to Gatwick, they all worked together, they all got round the table and they found a solution that works for them to get pay-as-you-go at Gatwick. Then the Mayor of London currently, Sadiq Khan, got round the table with Heathrow and the DfT, and they managed to get a solution for TfL to take over operations at Heathrow. They're two very different schemes. I think probably the Gatwick scheme would work well for Stansted, and I don't see any reason why those three people wouldn't want to get round the table and make it happen. But I'll be honest, I think at the moment, perhaps with other things happening, it's just not a priority for any three of those parties, and it really should be. Because like you allude to, it's the first thing that people see when they get to London. We don't want that first thing they see to be a fine. Yeah. That leaves a horrible taste in the mouth. So I think that it's incumbent on all three of those parties to really take this on board. Somebody needs to be a leader, somebody needs to take charge of that and push it forward.
All right, we will see. Thank you. Simon, thanks very much for coming in and talking to us about this issue.